Blue Eyes was fun, but ultimately it ended in failure. This time around, I want to win. So on a budget of only $25 per week, we're going to build a competitive PK deck that can not only beat content creators, but also top locals and take on regionals when they return. Join me on this journey to become the next king of games. This is sealed only Yu-Gi-Oh! Road to Kingship. We're switching things around a little bit this week. We're putting the shilling up front, that way I can make you like and subscribe the video earlier when you're actually still watching and not quitting right after the pack opening, because, you know, I know how sealed only viewers are. They just want to see if I pulled it or not. Anyways, a little bit of a breakdown of last week. I don't know how to play PKVW. I'm not smart enough, and we don't have a Shenshin, so I don't really have a good end board for it. I should have gone into Juju a lot more than I did, but I'm stupid. I didn't realize how good of a card that is. I digress. As I've noticed from our games, my big issue is I don't have any starters. The deck is filled with extenders. Almost every single card in the deck is an extender, but I don't have a good starter. Our best start is normal summoning and hoping we have the extenders in hand, which is fine, but it doesn't really work in today's meta game, especially when everyone's just like packing a ton of disruption, and I can only play through maybe one piece of disruption. Because of that, starting next week, we're turboing for Torn skills again and opening a ton of tins. This week, we're going to be opening the Legendary Hero decks Part 2 because I really want to finish some playsets, and I want to get a second Fogblade because, you know, Fogblade's like the best card in the deck. It's really good, it's why you play PK in the first place. But yeah, with that out of the way, I also want to make sure to shield my other stuff. Make sure you watch the episode of the Magic Progression series. We got the Homelands. Pretty interesting set, but the gameplay is far better than the set itself. And check out my Structure Deck Spin Down series. It's really fun. If you like Simo's Saturday series, well, he ripped that off from my Structure Deck Spin Down series, if you can believe that. So watch this instead of him. All right, let's see what this deck has in store for me. Heroes, here they are. They're saving the day. I have no clue what this thing is. Is it a gun? Is it a giant COVID vaccine gun thing? I don't know, but it's there and it's right up front. It occurs to me that I did not open this for you guys for episode 1 because I lost the footage. So we're gonna, if I can get that off, good old Konami shrink wrap. We're gonna go over this a little bit because, yeah, this is what my deck's based off of. So if you don't know what these are the 2018 Legendary Hero decks. It is the second and last in a line of Legendary decks that were not Yugi themed. So the first one was the Legendary Dragon decks that had like Dark Magician Dragon, like Tamais and stuff, Cyber Dragon, and the Pendulum Dragon stuff. This one has PKs, Destiny Heroes, and Nordics. Funnily enough, all three of these have seen a lot of more support in the year. So PK's got all of its stuff with Phantom Rage, Destiny Heroes getting all of its stuff in Bode, and then I think these guys have also got some new stuff too, like this really good trap card and stuff. Yeah, and then on the back it shows you all the stuff you got. It had some really good reprints for the time, and it's just like a really great value for what it was at the time. And it's also a free box. This is probably how a lot of people like started their Yu-Gi-Oh journey in 2018, because it's just like 3 pre-constructed decks that play pretty well with each other. And well, I don't think any of them are competitively viable on their own, as you can see with the PK deck being not very competitively viable on its own. It's just a really neat product. It's really good for casual, and it's really good for competitive because it had a lot of reprints of staples at the time. And just like good cards, like this was the first instance of Rusty Bardiche existing. We got Hollow Twin Twisters, which is definitely going in. This card's not good. I'm able to use the other Break Sword. Rongo Bongo's banned because of how good he was, so he's going over there. Of course we want our boys. We just need one of those. Don't really need the rest of these now that we got our stuff. We do need the Kagemucha. That'll be really good. Second Effect Veiler. I don't think we want the third rank up magic. I don't know if we want a third Dark Hole. What is that one? We don't want we want a second Fogblade. We don't really want more of these. Maybe a second Shade. Well, this kind of a brick. Yeah, and then we got more of this stuff. Second Levier will be good for later. Most of this extra deck stuff is one-ofs. But yeah, like I said, you get a whole, at the time, PK deck with 2-ofs of everything, which is better than most structure decks. You have a full extra deck with some really good cards, especially, again, like I said, Rongo Bongo was legal at the time. And you had, like, staples like Effect Failure. You had 20s in here. And you'll have more, as you're about to see, if... Oh, they didn't print the thing on this one. This one doesn't have the little tab. Interesting. I'm opening all these because there's some cards in all of them that will be useful if I can get it. One sec. So you got Destiny Hero Dread Decimator, Mally and Ultra. So Mally's a really good reprint, so we're gonna reuse that. Some Destiny Hero stuff. Most of this isn't very good. Celestials are actually gonna be good with Phoenix Sky, Phoenix Boy, the new one in Bode. Like you got Shadow Mist, you got a lot of good foils, you got cool stuff. Shout out to people who watch the MBT's progression series. They know how good Clock Tower Prison can be. Yeah, it's like a lot of good stuff in here. 2 terraforming, because at the time it was at 3. Very funny. And yeah, so I actually don't think we needed anything out of here except for the holo upgrade for our Malicious, which these holo upgrades for Malicious are actually going for a lot because Phoenix Enforcer's coming out. And then, let's see here, this one's another one where it's a mystery as to where the pull tab is. I think I found it. No I did not. No I did not. Oh boy. Don't want to damage these cards. Found it. We found it. Aha. Wow, that didn't really do much at all, actually. Okay. It also gave much needed support to a lot of decks as well. Also, if you have not read this card, just read it for a second. It's insane. So if it's Link Summon, you can banish up to 3 cards from your hand and or field, and if you do, special summon that many Nordic monsters from your deck in defense position. Also, for the rest of the turn, you cannot special summon monsters except Icier monsters, nor normal summon / setting monsters. It only is effective once per turn, and then while this points to an Icier monster, your opponent cannot target that monster with card effects. Also, monsters your opponent controls cannot target this card for effects. It summons 3 from deck. That's wild. That guy, upgrade for our Dark Hole. Coral Dragon is a really good reprint. What else we got here? Like, all this Nordic stuff, which, again, I don't know if it's any good or not. But it exists. We got the Forbidden Chalice, which is what I want. I don't think we want the dress or anything. Soul Charge was in here. It was legal at the time. Hey Trunade and MST are in there as well, which, you know, Hey Trunade is the budget discount giant Trunade that we're allowed to use. It's a funny card. And yeah, you got like Scrap Dragon, Beals this, just a lot of good stuff in all these cards. Like, they were really great starts to collection, and I'm really sad they don't do these anymore. And yeah, that's about all I have to say about them. This also really hits close to home to me, because my first foray back into Yu-Gi-Oh! After I, you know, stopped playing as a child, was these decks. I got the Legendary Dragon decks back in 2017, I played around with those, and that's why I'm here today. But anyway, we'll take our spoils and we'll add them to the deck. Alright, so we're giving you the full-on deck profile this week because we've changed back to more of a bog standard, pure-ish Phantom Knight kind of thing. You know, the vanilla ice cream of a Phantom Knights deck that I'm currently able to produce, not the wacky VW. And we're definitely not going the Tribary route, as some people suggested, because it doesn't seem fun without Shirag or what's his name? Fractal? Yeah, that's the guy. Anyways, let's get into our monster lineup. So, of course, we're running triple. Let's pull him down here a little bit. Silent Boots. He's your main extender. Free special summon. We all know what he does. Then, of course, we got triple. This guy still might be a little cope, but he's probably the best that I can run a 3 of right now since we don't have Torn Scales. 2 Cloak, because he's kind of a brick. His best attribute is being banished from the graveyard, so he's not the best. And we're down to 1 Ragged Gloves because he's the least useful PK, unfortunately. That's how it is, so bumped him down to 1. Then we're going to our little mini Raid Raptor engine, so we got the 2 Strangleanius, such a great card. Free special summons, a free special summon with no strings attached. Speaking of free special summons, 2 Heal Eagle. Not as good. It's a 3, which is cool, but the fact that it requires Raid Raptors sucks, but at the same time, it doesn't specify that it can't be summoned but with itself in the field, so if you have 2 in hand, it's not a brick at least. Finally, we got the 1 Singing Lanius. It's a free special summon if you have an Exceed, and then the 1 Raider's Wing to round it out, because it also counts as a PK, so he works with all of our PK effects as well, which is pretty nice. Next, we get to our generic extenders. We got the 2 Junk Forward, free special summon from hand if you don't control anything, so that's pretty good. Kagemucha Knight, the honorary PK, special summons himself when you normal summon level 3. Very, very powerful extender, and if we ever get Tour Guide, he's a great way to chain block for her. Double Blue Mountain Butter Spy. He's like Kagemucha Knight, but a 4 instead of a 3, so slightly less useful, but great for link plays. Power 1-0s, we got the 1 Armor Knight. Send anything, really good. Act as an eccentric, so if you normal summon this, you can special summon the Blue Mountain Butter Spy from hand, which is pretty good, because he is a warrior. Or he can send your PKs and get some stuff rolling that way. Speaking of things you send off our Armor Knight, we got our Nian Nian. Actually, can you summon her off an Armor Knight? No, Dark, never mind. But Nian Nian's great because she's a free special summon when she's in the graveyard. She can be a tuner, which is cool because we do have a few synchros we can go into, namely Juju, which actually isn't terrible in this deck. And when she's banished, she shuffles back something, which is really good as well. Finally, for our hand trap lineup, we just got the 2 effective Veilers because that's all we really have, unfortunately. But hey, he's good in the meta, so. Next, we are running 1 Launch and 1 Force. Force, much better than Launch because I don't have to have the stipulation of having no material Mag Seas monster. This means I can have a 3 material Dark Requiem, which is pretty good. 3 monster negates on your opponent's turn. Not bad at all. But I'm still running the Rank of Magic Launch as well because there are situations where I might get stuck with the Dark Rebellion at 0, materials, so that's the thing. It's kind of cope, but I like its graveyard ability too, where you can attach a card as material to a Dark Xyz, but it's still kind of cope. Speaking of cope, 2 Xyz import. I like it, but I can see that as we go forward, it doesn't really do much. It's cool removal, but we have better ways of removing things going forward. Next, 2 Forbidden Chalice. They are the poor man's Imperm, but they're also really good because, unlike Imperm, you can always activate it from your hand on your turn, which is cool. Great out to stuff like Juju, great out to the Tribraids, and by Juju, I mean Shen, sorry. But still, it's such a great card in today's meta, and yeah, it's very good. Also, the extra attack power sometimes does come up. Now for our power 1-ofs, Foolish Burial, great way to get a missing PK into the graveyard. Rhoda, get that PK to hand so you can start special summoning, getting your combos going. And Monster Reborn, great extender, get something else to your side of the field. For our traps, double Fogblade is great, so good. I'm slowly learning that Fogblading your own stuff is actually a pretty effective strategy if you don't want to die. Great way to stall the game. Next we got the 1 of Shade Brigandine, again amazing extender, great way to make a rank 4 or go into a link play. We got the Wing and the Sword, essentially both serve the same purpose as a Monster Reborn from your graveyard. Pretty good. And finally, the Claw, again, cope because you need an Xyz monster, but it's cool as a counter trap. We'll see how it goes. Alright, next for the extra deck, I haven't changed too much. Our Synchro package has gone down the Coral Dragon and the Juju because those are all we can make, and I think they're the best ones. I got quite the talking to from Aquarion about my VW plays last week and how I should not have ended on a Coral Dragon. So we're going to make sure that we don't end on that as much as we normally would. Instead, we just keep it up with the Shen, which is much better. Next, for our rank 3s, we got Jaja. It's an Dragoon, pretty cool. We got Levier. It's an extender, not the best one we have. It'll be more useful if/when we pull F0. We got 2 Break Swords this week because it's just so good. Removal, extender, what more could you want? You'll Swarm Nightmare, great way for interrupting your opponent. Then we got Dark Rebellion and Dark Requiem, you know how it goes. Big Boy, and then Effect Monster Negation. And finally Zeus, who, because we can't make a 4 material Zeus, is less useful in my deck than others, but still Zeus. Finally, we have Link Spider. We can make it off of our Shade Brigandine. It's also good for the Nibiru token. We got the Geonator Transverser. It's an okay Link 2. It can do some shenanigans, but it might come up, but it's a Link 2, so that's good. Pentastag, all it is our Dark Link 2. That's all that matters. Decode Talker, who knows, might come up. And finally, Bardiche, you know what he does. Sends, sets, what more could you ask for? Finally, our side deck. It's not too impressive, but there's stuff in there. So we got a Bottomless, a Torrential, and a Compulse for our 1 of Traps, all pretty good interruptions. We got Lance and Dress, which I doubt I'll ever go into, but hey, they exist. 3 MST, and a Book of Moon as well. Book of Moon's good interruption, MST's removal. Speaking of removal, we are running 3 Dark Holes, and trust me, one day they'll all be Ultra, but today's not that day. And finally, 2 20s and 1 True Nade. I'm a little heavy on the back row disruption, but PK doesn't have any native in-engine back row stuff, so I'm thinking it might be good. We'll see how this goes. I feel like a lot of the deck is cope, especially the main deck, so I'm thinking, depending on how things go, I'm probably going to start putting more of our 20s into our main deck instead of just a sideboard to see how things go. But at any rate, let's go to locals and see what happens. For our first match this week, we are up against Screw the Rules Yu-Gi-Oh! Again, and this time he's on Virtual World. Hopefully he pilots it a little bit better than I do. Unfortunately, he goes first and appears he bricked a little bit because he starts by summoning a GG. However, he's still able to go through his combos, and unlike me, he remembers his Lulu effects. He's able to make a Zulkin and he uses its effect to bring out the Crystal Wing. Then, he ends his turn with a GG and a Chuche on the field as well. We are far less impressive. We start with a normal summon Cloak and a special summon Boots. We go into our pet to Stag, but unfortunately he Chuches it on the summon, so we can't go much farther. We try to activate Foolish Burial, but in response he uses everyone's favorite Floodgate on us. Next we try to use our Silent Boots in our graveyard, but he negates it with his Crystal Wing. All we can do after that is set one and pass. On his turn he uses Zulkin to make a Scarlight, and he synchros into a Muddy Mud Dragon. Then he uses the Muddy Mud Dragon to make Big Bad Daddy Dragoon, and he swings for game. Game 2. This time, we go first. We summon our gloves from our hand, and our opponent chains a Lancia. That's fine though. Use our effective Brigadine to summon itself. Then, this triggers the Greaves in our hand to special summon itself. We link two of them off into a Pentastag, and then we link into a Bardiche. We use Bardiche to send our Cloak, and we set a Fogblade. After that, we send one more card, and we pass. Our opponent starts with VW combos by activating King Long and targeting it with Lili. Our opponent's able to make their own Breaksword, and they pop one of my Fogblades. Sad, sad. They make a Vermilion Dragon Mech, and we Valor it before it can start popping our board. He then makes himself a Shen Shen, and we Fogblade it so he doesn't interrupt our plays. Sadly, he's able to set the Chuche and pop our Fogblade. Moves to battle, and he hits over our Bardiche, and he hits us for a bit of damage after that. In his main phase 2, he makes a Zeus. On his end step, we banish our Fogblade to revive our Greaves. We start our turn by banishing our Cloak to add Boots to hand. Then we special summon it and make Breaksword. We use Breaksword to pop itself and Shen Shen. Then we use a 2 revived PKs to make a Dark Rebellion. We use Dark Rebellion to have Zeus's attack. Finally, we move to the battle phase and he activates his Zeus. After that, all I can do is pass. Our opponent goes to his turn, he does some plays, and he assembles lethal. Very carefully.
Go, 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 go.
Boy. Any painful decision? Ooh, Nova. I mean, I don't have a Hollow Nova, so that's nice. Match 2, and this time around we go first against Zombie Rolled Eldritch, a deck that we have a very poor track record against. We start our turn with a Rhoda, and we get ourselves a Boots. We normal summon Staingreaves, and we special summon a Butter Spy and a Boots. We link into Pentastag and then to Bardiche. We use Bardiche to send Gloves and set Fogblade. We banish our Boots to add Shady Brigadine to hand. Then we banish Gloves to send Cloak to grave. We banish Cloak to add Boots to hand, then we banish Greaves to special summon the Boots as a 4. We overlay Boots and Shade Brigadine for an Eagle Swarm Nightmare, then we set 2 more and pass. Our opponent's turn, he starts with an Eldritch popping one of our back row. Then he does some Zombie World Eldritch stuff, getting out a Vendread Link and a Doom King. On the summon of the Doom King, we attempt to use our Nightmare to flip down the Doom King. This results in him chaining the Doom King's effect, and we chain a Fogblade to negate the Doom King. Then he links him off into a Vampire Sucker and uses this effect to summon one of my monsters back and draw a card. Then he uses his Elixir to bring out an Eldritch, and we chain our Evil Swarm to flip it down. On our draw phase, he uses White Destiny to bring out an Eldritch, and on our standby phase, he brings back the Doom King. Doom King being summoned triggers his Sucker to draw a card. This then triggers the Doom King to banish my Bardiche. Finally, we play on our own turn, and we start with a Foolish Burial, we send the Ancient Cloak. We try to banish Cloak to add a PK, but he uses his Doom King effect to negate our effect. We banish our Fogblade, bring back our Boots, and we link our 3 monsters into a Decode Talker. We move to battle and try to attack, but he changes Conquistador and he kills Decode. Finally, we pass back to him and he assembles lethal on his turn. Game 2, and we go first again. This time we start by special summoning Junk Forward, then we normal summon Gloves and special summon the Kagemucha in our hand. We do the classic link into Pentastag, then to Bardiche. We activate Bardiche to send a Cloak and set a Fogblade. Then we set one more and pass turn. Luckily for us, our opponent has bricked and could only end on a Link Kribo with a set back row. On our turn, we banish Cloak to add Boots to our hand. Then we activate, hey, Trunade. Our opponent chains his set Forbidden Droplet, negating our Bardiche's effects, but that's okay, we don't need them. After this happens, we normal summon our Cloak and we special our Boots. We overlay them to a Breaksword, and we use Breaksword's effect to pop itself and Link Kribo. We then bring the PKs back and we make a Dark Rebellion. We banish the Boots from our graveyard to add a rank up magic. We hit in for some damage and then we make a Dark Requiem. On our opponent's turn, he hits us with the Lightning Storm. On our turn, we assemble lethal and we swing for game. Sadly, I didn't get most of game 3 on camera, but as it turns out, I bricked this game and he gets to run away with it. That's okay. Well, what'd I tell ya? Like I said in the recap, we just lack the starters. We can't play through stuff. It sucks. Like, so many times I had like a combo or I had like a good thing going, but I just couldn't play through Disruption and I couldn't play through like just 1-for-1 removal, I guess. But that's fine, you know, because next week we'll be going for those Megatons. We're going to get in those Torrent skills, we'll get those Rare Knights, we'll get those Arc Rebellions, and then we'll be off to the races. Once we just get like 1 Torn Scales, the deck will be so much better because that card is finally a good starter and extender all rolled into one. After that, I'll need your help. Why don't you let me know down below? Should I try to go for Cherubini and Fusion Destiny right away? Or should I try and get just 1 Takatomborg and 1 Terratop first, as that's like an easy way to make Cherubini, and it's probably going to be a lot faster than getting Cherubini. Let me know down below, because I'm really curious. That being said, thank you all for watching. I hope to see you again next week, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.